Hi folks, Donna Bob here with the second episode of Elebbin Park, continuing the progress on the update 11 Park and the progress on the work on it. Today, the first dinosaur is going in. So as you can see with this shot, the fencing is already in place for our first animal, and the research center is in place, and we need a nursery. So this container is the basic module right now. That's something the devs said is going to change, and they have said that the modules will become available as props, which I think is just great. I was hoping they would do them as props even before that. So if you go to the egg on the left-hand side, there's no way to get to the lab, even though you used to be able to have a pop. So if you go to the Park Services manual and click on the egg, you do get the nursery. So we're going to choose Leaellynasaura, and at this point only the so-called default skin was available, and of course only female because we haven't unlocked male. So having started the incubation process, it's time to prepare the exhibit. Fast bit of terrain painting and basic plants down in the hopes of having enough to keep the animals satisfied. Feeders at this point were not functional and often showed up empty like this. And complete with the animal needed, refill needed sign. So we go to the egg on the side menu there, and we saw our animal was ready. Clicked the little square thing in the lower part, which selects all the animals, and then click the release. So Nigel is talking to us while we put our first one down. As you can see, the sun is going down in the game. This is a challenge game, and our Leaellynasaura is immediately thirsty and went right over to the water. So it's unhappy. It doesn't have enough forest, so that has to be fixed. And since an animal's in and guests are starting to come in, I wanted to get the donation box in, and also the information sign, so that in the hopes that the guests had started to interact properly with habitats, which was a problem during the last update. So the screen is in. There it is. It sees our dinosaur. I click on it, and unfortunately the screen doesn't actually show up. But we do have guests in. This was the phase when they were either jogging or slouching their way around in exhaustion. Guests are a work in progress, so they will be getting upgrades as we go along through this update. We should even eventually see male guests. In order to keep the guests and happy, you don't have to do anything right now because it's all locked up, but to keep the money rolling in, I wanted to have some stuff they could spend their money on, even if they didn't give donations. One wants to have some money coming in, or bankruptcy is the ultimate destination. So I'm setting this one where there will eventually be a much bigger guest services and attractions building in the future when I have the budget to put such a structure up, even though I've already built it. And in the last video, you may recall me mentioning setting up the path here for it. And then I changed the path color for this one to make it easier for me to remember to take it out before putting that building in. The traditional have to hit the gizmo tool so that things will reconnect to paths. And there we go. The basics are in there. Stuff is going along, but even though it's not excuse me, even though it's not where it could be at 100%. Obviously, there's a certain amount of editing to do with the things. The brushes don't like to put plants very close to the fence, but everything just looks better if they're close to the fence. You just saw the Leaellynasaura take a run down that little runway because right here where I'm putting in the hay beds is going to be the care building. I decided to use the chain link fence because it sort of makes a pretty good backstage approach to fencing. And it's also thin enough that you can conceal it under most of the walls. So that was part of the intention here. Have a nice solid fence. I was having a little bit of trouble with the habitat, staying habitat with the habitat markers, and that was just a non-starter. You're going to see me changing my mind about some of the build details on this building as we go along. I decided this time to run things more or less at either actual building speed or at only a slightly accelerated pace. Because it's a small habitat and it's give you a better idea of how the pieces are being used to make the habitat into what it turns out to be. The next video, there'll be a lot more time compression because it's physically a lot bigger exhibit. We're checking on our finances now. The guests are flat at income and there's no donations, which is not great for the park, but we are making money with our concessions, and so that's at least something. We're not going totally into the hole with this, which is good. Anyway, so it does mean we have some money to tweak things and make them a little bit prettier for this first bit, and bring some of the habitat's plantings out to set the fencing in an evocative environment. This is intended to be a very low budget exhibit, relatively speaking, but I still wanted to have a sense that this was a shaded forest without throwing a lot of trees into the habitat. So that's why the savanna plants are coming in at the edges to provide shade. And they would also be natural plantings in this. This is the Ngoro crater, Ngoro crater map. So savanna's the name of the game. So I also want to get some research rolling, as I would at the beginning of a park, trying to get out of the crappy diesel generators and to the more consistent wind turbines. Even though their power goes up and down, they do get better coverage and they don't cost as much to maintain. So I have another theme going there, or I want to have another theme going there. I did one theme to get this path you're looking at right now, because that's in the Stone Age pack, and that also provided the green roofs that went onto the care building for the Leaellyna. Anyway, so that's pretty much what we've got for this habitat, and there'll be some animal shots coming up. And one thing that I don't think I look at in this video, but I was doing anyway, was checking just how much prettiness there is, Park Beauty, I believe it's called, to hide that research building in the back there because it's very visible. And that's something I'll be dealing with in either in the next episode or in between episodes. But I wanted to give a little more finished look to the entry plaza, and so that necessitated putting these walls in and then having them match the stonework color from the guest entry building and the ticket area. This is going to have 4 planting beds with shade trees. And you're watching me mess around with the mulch for these things, because it took me a little while to remember they were quarter circles and they were the perfect choice for this particular bedding setup. So I'm able to duplicate it, and even though the curves are not the same, it still saves a lot of work by doing it in chunks, as you're seeing in the video right now. The last little bits of these that go across to the ticket module are intended to go away in the future as I expand that, as I talked about in the last video, when the park gets bigger and needs more entry gates to handle the flow of crowds. I'm expecting to expand that ticket area. So a little bit of fussy work putting those guys down, and that's the building portion of this video, and time to go on to the animals. Next time we'll be putting in another animal, and that will take a look at the, at least in a teaser section, the excavations stuff that has come in with this update, even though it too is still a work in progress. So the Leaellynasaura is very good at disappearing into the underbrush. It's a small animal, and the underbrush is big enough to hide it a lot. Saw it running around. But now it's in its little building, and it's time for it to go to sleep, and time for Don and Bob to be thinking about signing off for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know the drill. Like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hope to see you in another video next week. Till then, be kind to each other out there, and just have a good time. Bye now.